Today on the channel we're going to talk about a game that's been flying under the radar for quite some time, but it seems it's about to get the recognition it truly deserves due to some recent coverage from frustrated Diablo IV creators as well as Asmongold. The game in question is Last Epoch. It's an indie RPG. It's been in development for 5 years and version 1.0 and the full release of the game is coming later this year. I like this game a lot, as you can see from the number of hours I've put into it. It could potentially be one of my favourite games of all time, and I've been a gamer for a long time, so that is saying a lot. Personally for me, the reason I really like it is the perfect middle ground of the complexity of Path of Exile and how basic, unfortunately, Diablo IV has turned out to be. Now, while digging through the press kit for the game, looking for some art assets over the last few days in order to get some videos on the go for it, I actually found a comparison chart comparing Last Epoch to Diablo IV. So what we're going to do in this video is we'll run through this chart as it's a perfect introduction to Last Epoch and how an indie developer is about to turn the entire action RPG market on its head. The first comparison we have on this chart here is a really effective one for anyone that's looking to get the most bang for their buck when it comes to games that they are purchasing. So the cost of Last Epoch is currently 50% of that of Diablo IV. So Diablo IV is $70 to buy and Last Epoch is $35. In UK pounds, if you're in the UK yourself, it's working out at around about £30, which is really pretty awesome. The next comparison we have here is in regards to the number of character classes available. So in Diablo 4 at the moment you have 5 character classes available. In Last Epoch, once version 1.0 hits, you'll have 15 character classes available. Currently, with the version of the game that it's on 0.9.2, we have 13 of those classes available. The last 2 will come with the full launch of the game. Now, the way the classes actually work in Last Epoch is you have your 5 base classes. They are your general archetypes. So you've got your mage, you've got your primalist, who is essentially a barbarian style class. You've got your acolyte, you've got your rogue, and then you've got your sentinel. Your sentinel is your sword and board style character. Now from there, from those 5 base classes, once you hit a certain point in the story, you can apply a mastery class to your character and it really does transform how they play. So the different mastery classes are available. For the mage you have Rune Master, Spellblade and Sorcerer. For the primalist you have Shaman, Beastmaster and Druid. For the acolyte you have the Lich, you have Necromancer and the Warlock. The Warlock isn't yet released. For the rogue we have Blade Dancer, Marksman and Falconer. The Falconer isn't released just yet, that's coming with 1.0. And then finally for the Sentinel you have the Forge Guard, the Void Knight and the Paladin. Now once again, just to mention, yes, you have the original base class. So in a way you would think perhaps is it just 5 classes you have in the game, but the masteries really are that different that I think it is fair for them to say and to differentiate to say that they actually do have 15 separate character classes in the game. Next up here we have the number of skill tree nodes that are available per skill. So this is essentially modifiers to change your skill. Currently in Diablo 4 the skills are definitely very underwhelming feeling. You have 3 modifiers. Yes, you can add on additional aspects, but in most skills will maybe have 1 or 2 aspects that will actually modify them further. So I'm going to be generous here and say, for example, you have 5 different modifiers for a skill in Diablo 4, whereas in Last Epoch you have over 20 different modifiers per skill. Now the best way to show this off is actually to bring up a skill in game. So I'm going to bring up a very popular skill when it comes to action RPG games. I'm going to bring up a spin to win style skill here. So the skill in question we have here then, this is called Warpath. Now there's 27 different modifiers available within the tree for this particular skill. A large portion of them are what is essentially stat sticks, which is understandable. You can't have every single modifier drastically changing the skill. So you can see you've got, for example, block chance here. You can invest in area, you can invest in additional damage, or even down here you can invest in move speed while you're using the skill. Now what you have within Last Epoch, which makes the game really amazing for myself, is that you have various skills that will be able to proc a different skill. Now that different skill will have its own complete skill tree as well. So for example, when you're using Warpath and spinning round, you can have a chance to proc Smite, which is a lightning spell that will come down from the sky. However, with Smite having its own tree, what you can actually have it doing is you can have it calling down, for example, darkness lightning bolts or fire lightning bolts, or you can have it covering almost the entire screen in lightning. However, you will need the mana to sustain a setup such as that. You've got other interesting skills here that can be procced by your Warpath. So you've got Forge Strikes, that's a melee attack that will hit enemies in front of you, and that's got a chance to actually summon a forged weapon that will go around your character as well, so you'll get that while you're spinning with Warpath. And then finally we've got another skill here, Abyssal Echoes, which is a void, which is essentially a darkness type damage skill, and you can proc this while you are actually using the Warpath ability as well. So that there was one particular skill, and you have to bear in mind that the class I was shown off, the Void Knight, actually has access to 21 different skills, and each of those skills will have their own full skill tree that will have 20 different modifiers, or more than 20 modifiers available within them as well. So the build variety in the game is absolutely off the charts. Next up here we have the talent trees. Now currently it says that there's 5 different talent trees available for your characters in Diablo 4. Quite how they're getting to that I'm not quite sure, because within the tree there are various different nodes you can spec into that work from a passive rather than an active aspect. It does say for Last Epoch we have 100 plus, so what I'm going to do is actually show the passive trees for Last Epoch, but in regards to Diablo I think they're maybe being a little bit unfair how they're actually breaking this down, so I'm sure there's more than 5 different modifiers, or again maybe I'm not understanding what they actually mean by talent trees. But let's go in and look at the passives and the talent trees from a Last Epoch perspective. So what we have here is the Sentinel base class, where you can see the passives that are available to that particular class. So all Sentinels will gain access to this. Now these aren't active abilities, they are passives. You'll see you can invest points in a node that will give you strength, for example, or fire resistance. Instead you could go for melee physical damage increase, or you could perhaps go for vitality, which is essentially health, or increased health regen. Now as you invest points within a particular tree, it will unlock different skills that are available for the class as well. You can see these are the 4 base skills that are available to all Sentinel characters. From there you've then got your mastery class you would pick. You can only pick one mastery class. You can see in this instance I've chosen the Void Knight. We've got a passive bonus that is tailored towards the Void Knight. We've got a series of different passives here. You can see you've got an absolute ton, and then down the bottom you've got the different skills that are specific to the Void Knight as well. Now one thing you can do which is actually really great, although you can't pick more than one mastery, you can see we've got the Paladin and the Forge Guard class here. Now there is a chain halfway along the bar. You can invest points up to that area, so you can get passive bonuses that are specific to the Forge Guard, and then on top of that as well you can unlock some skills for them as well. So you could unlock, for example, their shield throw, or you could unlock one called Manifest Armor as well. So that is the talent trees. If you pair these alongside the skill trees and all the different modifiers that are available within them, you can see that the build variety within Last Epoch is absolutely incredible. We then move on to unique items next. Now currently Diablo 4 has 50 unique items, Last Epoch has over 250. Now when it comes to gear in a game, I would say that the quality of gear is more important than the variety of the quantity that actually drops. But Last Epoch and the uniques you get in the game are really pretty awesome, and lots of them can completely change a build, or they can steer you towards a particular build setup that you maybe didn't think of using before. Let's look at one of the more interesting uniques available. So this unique item here, I will admit, is one of the most fun and possibly one of the best unique items within the game. They're not all up to this level, but this one is really amazing. So it's called Herald of the Scurry. I believe it was actually designed by a community member as well. So if we look at the core stats that this offers, so you get increased health, which is nice enough, but it's just a stat stick change. You've got increased minion damage, you've got +1 to summon wolves. So the Primalist can actually summon wolves, and that's the tree we looked at earlier on, and all the different modifiers. This gives you an extra point to invest within it. Now what it does, and you'll see them fighting away on the left hand side right now, but what this unique does is it converts your wolves into squirrels. On top of that, you can summon squirrels up to twice your companion limit. So your companion limit with wolves is normally 5 companions in total that you can actually have, and this will double it, and you can see that's why I've got 10 squirrels in total. Also adds a chance for the squirrels to bleed, so we've got a damage over time based build using squirrels. You just run around the map, your squirrels will destroy anyone they don't destroy, the damage over time will normally defeat them as you're carrying on from them, and you've got the chance for them to shred physical resistance, which is tied in with your bleed rate as well. Now on top of this, I'll show another unique very quickly. This is relevant to this setup, so a bit of a more simpler one, but one that does enable the build that we're running where we've got maximum squirrels out. So this one is called the Fang. With this, the bottom modifier, you can see it says you can summon wolves up to your maximum number of companions. So I believe with the Primalist you can get around about 5 companions. If you don't use this, you can only have 2 wolves. However, if you use this, you could have 5 wolves, which in turn could be converted to your 10 different squirrels. So that is an example of one of the uniques available within Last Epoch. We then move on to deterministic crafting. So with Diablo 4 it states it's limited, and the crafting in Diablo 4 at the moment is exceptionally limited, and then in regards to Last Epoch it states that this is robust. Now the best way to actually show this off is to jump back into game and we'll play around with crafting an item here. So crafting then, and the balance between being able to get a god tier item and actually getting an item that's relevant to your build, I would say they've got the balance completely spot on in Last Epoch. Now we're going to do a very quick surface level overview of this. The reason being, if we were to go more in depth, it would probably be an entire video just on crafting alone. So you can see how this works. We'll actually go into the forge here. You can access this at any time by pressing F on your keyboard. So we have an item here. It has 3 different affixes on it. Items can have up to 4 affixes. You can see that you've got 2 prefixes and you have 2 suffixes. The prefixes are offensive and the suffixes are defensive. So there they are there on that item. Now if we shatter this particular item, you can see some of the shards with the different either prefix or suffix has been sent to our crafting inventory, and we can access this way over here. I've got over 33,000 of these different shards. I've been playing the game for quite some time, as mentioned earlier on. Now with these you can pick them up in combat as well, or if you find an item and it's got shards that look useful for a build but you don't like the particular base of that item or that particular item, then what you do is you would shatter it to get the shards, and then what you would do from there. So we've got an item here. At the moment it's only got 1 affix on it, so this does cold damage. So let's say for example we wanted to add on to this the ability to cast faster. So we've got cast speed, we can add this on here. You'll notice at the top as well, and I should mention this, you've got forging potential. So whenever we craft, this will cost between 1 to 10 forging potential. So there is an element of gambling with this, but it has to be there. Otherwise you would be getting your god tier items far too easy. But we've added cast speed. If we go over here, you've got your defensive suffixes. So let's also go for the chance to chill, because we'll go for a frost style setup with this particular weapon. So we add that. We can see in this instance it took the forging potential from 11 down to 5, which means we can do further crafts on this. So let's also add a freeze rate multiplier, so we're more likely to freeze enemies as well. So there we go. You can see in a couple of minutes we took an item that had 1 affix and we added those 3 additional affixes there, so we can attack quicker, we can chill with it, and we've got a higher chance to freeze as well. So that's how the crafting system works. Let's see what we've got to compare next. We move on to loot filter customization next. It says that in Diablo 4 it's limited. To my knowledge, there is actually no way to filter your loot in Diablo 4, and in regards to Last Epoch it says that it is robust, and it most certainly is robust. So let's have a look at it now. So the loot filter, like the crafting system in Last Epoch, I would say it's one of the strongest elements of the game. Now, like the crafting system, it's one that if we were to go quite in depth in this, it would take quite some time. So for the purpose of this video, once again, just a quick surface level look we're going to have here. I'm going to set up a very basic loot filter to give you an idea of how this actually works. So we can add up to 75 different rules for your loot filter. You can see that you have different rules that could be show, hide or recolor. So you can recolor how a particular item looks. if we go back here, what we want to do for the purpose of this is we're going to hide, we're going to add condition. From here we want to hide a particular rarity. So let's say we're at the point where we're only really using unique and exalted items within the game. So we'll choose to hide normal, magic and rare items. If we click on this here, we add this, we can see that any normal, rare and magic items will now be hidden. However, saying that, we talked earlier on about shards and how you want to shatter items. So let's say, for example, we want to show in this instance, and what we'll do is we'll recolor, so this shows as a different colour. So if we now go into affixes here, let's say we're looking to build, let's see what we click on first here. Let's go for attributes. Let's say we're looking to build a setup and we need as many dexterity shards as we can actually get. So what we want to do is we'll click on this here. The fact we've clicked it on as recolor and the fact this rule is above the one below it, what that actually means is if we had an item that was normal, magic or rarity, but it had a dexterity shard on it, then it would still show up. So we can pick that up and we can in turn shatter it. Now, once again, this system is something that I could probably spend an entire video on, very much just giving you a quick look here, but I hope that makes sense and you can see how useful this tool will actually be. You've also got a third-party site where people will upload builds, and from there you can take their loot filters and you can directly import them into the game as well, which is really pretty awesome. The next comparison we have here is skill transformation potential. So we've got the option available here in Last Epoch. It says it's not available in Diablo 4. I don't believe that is correct, because in Diablo 4 you can slightly modify your skills. You can't change them too much, but you can change them. So I believe to say you can't do it at all isn't really correct. Now, in regards to how much you can change them in Last Epoch, we've already looked at that to an extent. We had the fact that when we looked at the Warpath ability, you could add that so it could call in Smite Lightning Bolt, so you could summon weapons with it, or you could spawn Void Orbs with it instead. We also had the awesome Helm of the Scurry unique we had, which completely transformed your summon will skill so that it was summoning squirrels instead. So this is without a doubt an area that Last Epoch excels in. The next two comparisons we have are thankfully pretty simple ones before we get on to the opt-in full trade economy, where there is a lot going on with that. But the two comparisons we have to look at first, you've got hardcore mode, and both games offer hardcore mode, so that keeps things pretty simple for me there. And then you've got solo self-found. This is in regards to the loot that drops for your character, so this is offered in Last Epoch, but it's not offered in Diablo 4. So what this actually means is you can choose when you start up your character to make it that only that specific character will be able to gain items. You won't be getting items from your alt characters, you won't be getting items from other players at all. I believe on the back of that the drop rate is actually increased. It's not something that I'd be happy for you to quote me on, so if you know otherwise do let me know, but the option is available within Last Epoch and it isn't available in Diablo 4. So we then move on to the opt-in full trade economy. You can see this will be available with version 1.0 of the game, so it's not available just yet, and there's no such system such as this in Diablo 4. I believe that the system they've come up with is a compromise for players that love trade and also for players that hate trade, and I genuinely feel they've come up with something pretty groundbreaking in regards to how trade works in action RPGs. So your trade then, depending on your playstyle, will be broken into two different factions. There is a blog post that breaks this down in a lot more detail on their site, so feel free to check that out if you're looking for more information. But for today, we'll very quickly break it down. Your two factions are the Merchants Guild and Circle of Fortune. With the Merchants Guild, this is for people that are looking to trade. You can see it says buy or sell any type of equipment and trade directly using the bazaar. Now within the Merchants Guild and with these factions, you can leave them at any time, but the longer you stay in a faction, the more you actually level up within it and you gain bonuses. So within the Merchants Guild, you can see as you level up, at rank 2 you can trade set items, at rank 4 you can trade unique items, and then at rank 6 you can trade exalted items. If you're someone that doesn't want to trade at all and you prefer just to play yourself and just perhaps get items from friends, then you would join the Circle of Fortune faction. Now this particular faction, you can see it says Stars Guide or Fate. With this it improves the quantity and quality of item drops, and you use prophecies to hunt specific item types. We don't have more information on what prophecies will be just yet. Now with this, if we look at the Circle of Fortune, and if you stay longer within this particular faction, at rank 2 you've got a higher chance for Runes of Ascendance. These allow you to transform a regular item into a unique item. And at rank 4 you have affixes are 50% more likely to be exalted. We'll talk about that in a later video, but an exalted affix is essentially a more powerful one. And then at rank 6 uniques are twice as likely to have legendary potential, something that again we will talk about in a later video. But the system they've got here, it really manages to please both players that want trade and players that just aren't interested in it at all. So I really think they've done exceptionally well here. Finishing up here, we have two very simple comparisons. The first one with last Epoch, you do have offline and online modes available, and then with Diablo IV that is of course online only. In regards to cross-platform play, this is one of the big downsides for last Epoch at the moment. Cross-platform play is not available, however isn't actually available on any more platforms at the moment other than PC. Diablo IV of course does offer cross-platform. Now way back when they started their Kickstarter, I remember reading about the engine they used. They used this engine in mind that they could use it on consoles and it could be used for cross-platform play as well. So I'm hoping that should the game come to consoles at a later date, this is something that will be available. So with that, that's the first video I've actually done in 3 months, and it's most definitely going to be a new direction for the channel. Last Epoch is something that I've always intended to actually jump into and start doing videos on. I know there's a lot of people that are noticing it at the moment, but again, I've played the game for 1600 hours. I've been harping on to various different people on my Discord about it for years of how good it is and how they should actually play it, and it looks like the game is really going to explode towards the end of the year when the full release does come out. So on the back of that, I will be doing an absolute ton of videos. I've got around about 3 or 4 sheets of paper full of video ideas that I could actually do, but ultimately the channel has always been driven by the viewers, people like yourself that are watching this video. So if there are particular videos you would like to see for Last Epoch on the channel, do let me know. With it being a new game that I'm covering as well, and the fact that I've not done any videos in the last 3 months, I'm sure the algorithm is going to absolutely bury me here. So if this video has been helpful, if you've made it as far as this, if you want to see more Last Epoch content from myself, please do take the time to hit the like, share and subscribe button, and leave a comment as well. Leaving a comment is exceptionally important, because if you interact with the video then it says you're enjoying it and YouTube will recommend it more. But there we go, that's the first video in 3 months done there, and I managed to get through it alright. So I hope the video has been helpful. Let me know what you think about all this in the comments below, and thanks for tuning in, stay safe, and I'll see you all again soon.